Hey everybody! And a warm welcome to a new story. Today's story is called How to Pressure a Teenage Boy into Dating Your Daughter 101 from the Entitled Parents subreddit. I hope you like it and will enjoy the time. If you like my content and this kind of videos, please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. As always, this story is told from the OP's point of view. Enjoy it. How to Pressure a Teenage Boy into Dating Your Daughter 101. Posted yesterday about how an EP at my school got involved when her daughter didn't win Homecoming Princess, and some people asked if I had any other stories. This involves the same EP and daughter, but takes place a year later, when I was a junior. Again, I'm not directly involved, but the victim in this story was and still is one of my closest friends. He'll be referred to as A, the daughter is still V, and the mom as EP. Also, in all honesty, I and our other friends found the entire situation to be hilarious, both during and after it happened. A is a very lackadaisical, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and it just seemed fitting that he would be the one who'd get caught up with V and EP. Onto the story. So for those who didn't read the previous story, EP is now the freshman counselor at my high school, and her daughter V was now a senior. I ended up having class with her newspaper yearbook after the co-princess debacle of the previous year, and my impression of V was that she seemed a little entitled, but besides that was social and hard-working. She was in charge of the sports pages for the yearbook and always met her deadlines, so she was okay in my book. Now V and A were both on the swim team, being a junior like me. Like I said before, A is the definition of go with the flow, but he does have a good work ethic, took AP classes, and was active in several other groups, including the very rigorous architecture and engineering program. In addition to this though, A was a stoner on the side and went to his fair share of parties. Somewhat important later. One day in newspaper, in like mid-April or early May, I noticed that V was excitedly giggling about something in our classroom. The yearbook had already been submitted, so their staff was basically writing the school year out. I didn't pay very much attention to it until my friend B whispered at me, "Did you just hear V? She's going to ask us to prom." For the non-American readers, prom is just an end-of-the-year dance held for the juniors and seniors. It's basically like a farewell to your high school life, and kids will go all out for it, renting limousines, posing for formal photos and paying out the wazoo for attire. I turned around a bit to look at V and noticed that she had a whole bag of stuff next to her, and was working on a card. I've known her since we were 12 years old, and I knew he didn't like V in that way, but hey, it wasn't my business and I had work to do, so I pushed it out of my head. 2 or 3 days later, I overheard her happily talking about how he said yes, how excited he seemed, and how she was going dress shopping ASAP with EP after school. At that point, I really wanted to hear A's perspective on all of this. I swung by his house after class with the homies to find him lazing about, smoking in his room with a bunch of balloons and some confetti in his hair. We all talked for a while until he said, "Oh yeah, dunno if you heard, but apparently I'm taking V to prom." I confessed that I heard her talking about it earlier that week, to which he replied, "WTF Larny Barney, you could have warned me before she ambushed me." Ambushed? That's when I finally got the full proposal story. V left a series of cards for A, placing one on his car after school, another in his swim bag, another in his locker and architecture station, hinting for him to be in the main hallway after third lunch, when there'd be a ton of students. She then dropped a banner that rolled down the stairwell that said something like, "A, I hope you'll step up and take me to prom." Obviously, with a third of the student body milling about, people started oohing and cheering, waiting for A to give his answer. In A's words, honestly I wasn't feeling it, I'd rather stay home and play some games instead of spending money to go to prom, but I couldn't just walk away from all of that, she's my teammate. So he walked up the stairs, gave her a hug and said he accepted. Crowd cheers. Two of V's friends come out of nowhere and hand A bunch of balloons, against school rules, toss confetti over A and V, very against school rules, then play music on a Bluetooth speaker while EP takes pictures and video of the whole affair. A spent the rest of the day having students ask when the wedding was and congratulating him on becoming the new co-prince, lol. After our laughter died down, I told him that V seemed to think he was really looking forward to this, and that TBH it sounded like she had a crush on him. I remember he shrugged, smiling, and said, well that's flattering, but I'm just going to take her to prom, help her have a good time, then walk away from this and let the school year end. Well, he should have told V that, because in her mind, they were totally dating. She spent the next week following around, hammering out plans for prom, getting his opinion on this or that color for her dress, deciding where they were going to go eat dinner, etc. EP is also taking the opportunity to talk to him in the hallway, gushing about how they make the perfect pair and how wonderful they're going to look together. As far as the student body is concerned, they're dating. A took all of this in stride, still telling himself and us that this was only until after prom, then everything would be back to normal. Prom weekend finally comes and goes, and a few days pass before I see her again. I beat around the bush for a bit before finally asking him how it all went. Without missing a beat, A cheerfully responds, oh, I totally FK up. The gist was this: V asked if he'd like to come to a family barbecue the day before prom, as a thank you for accepting in the first place. Never one to reject free food, he accepted. During the barbecue though, V and EP repeatedly introduced A as V's boyfriend. A didn't have the heart to correct either of them in the moment but was planning to after the event ended, until EP introduced him to the assistant dean of the engineering department from a major university. After gushing about how talented her new future son-in-law was in our school's engineering program, the dean said that with EP's recommendation, he'd love to have a come-in to interview for a potential scholarship. At that point, all of A's plans to tell V and EP that they weren't dating began to crumble. The next day, after taking V to prom, she stole a kiss from him and said, oh by the way, Mom is bringing some recruiters from X university to our swim meet to recruit you. She said she'll do whatever it takes to help my new boyfriend get into a good school. At this point, while I think it's super fucked up that EP is doing this, I am dying from laughter. A doesn't want to make V's final month of high school suck by breaking up with her, and he's also low-key anxious about what EP might do to his chances of getting a scholarship if he breaks her daughter's heart. So, in true A fashion, he decides that he'll just keep up the charade until school ends in a month, then hope V moves on. She was going way out of state for college. For the next month, EP and V smother A whenever they can. Brunch and dinner dates on the weekends, impromptu recruiters swinging by A's classes with EP, who very much likes calling A her son-in-law, V not so subtly suggesting that A follow her to her out-of-state school when he graduates, etc. School ends, V graduates, and starts getting ready to move away for college. A purposely doesn't return her text messages or calls, and eventually she leaves the state. We all have one last laugh and assume it's all over. Wrong. When school starts back up again, EP finds A and starts asking why he hasn't contacted V all summer. And why he didn't come to see her off. And why he didn't buy her a going-away present. Then she hints that she would hate to have set up all those opportunities for him for nothing. A finally stands his ground and declares that he was just very busy with family matters all summer and didn't want to be a hassle to V during such a critical time. EP accepts this and doesn't bother A for the remainder of the semester. Everything seems okay until December, when A gets a call from V. She's coming home for the holidays and wants to see her boyfriend. At this point, all of A's friends, myself included, insist that he finds a way to end this nonsense. A comes up with a plan. As I said before, despite being a very good student, A is a huge pothead and liked going to parties. V, however, never knew this side of A and is very much against drug use. So A decides to get stupid high, have a few beers and meets her at an IHOP smelling dank as F, then tells her that since she left, he's begun using drugs, LMFAO. He says that he stopped contacting her because he knew she wouldn't approve and thinks she should break up with him and find someone at her new university who's better for her. Without missing a beat, V declares that she's willing to leave her out-of-state university and transfer back to our city to help him drop his addiction, because he clearly needs her. I can't believe it, and finally doubles down, insisting that she can't mold her future around him and that she should think about herself first. V finally gives in, and after a rather tearful goodbye, goes back to her school and stops contacting AEP. Never talked to A again about V. She'd always give him a major stink eye though, and all the recruiters she introduced him to stopped contacting him about scholarships. She also made a few snide remarks in front of other teachers about him possibly being a druggie, and even tried to get the school police to search his locker, but no one took her seriously because A at this point was the president or captain of multiple clubs and was still an excellent AP student. In the end though, a 6-week internship he got through the school engineering program ended up offering him a job after high school, complete with a program that paid for him to go to college. He's got a pretty neat job working as a graphic designer now and still gets absurdly stoned on the weekends. What do you think about this story? Tell me your thought in the comments. If you like the story and the content, please leave a like, subscribe and share this video. Also have a look into my playlist for more entertaining stories.